How's it going, everyone?
Good.
James here. Boys, introduce yourselves for the PlayStation podcast.
PlayStation Nation.
This is Vino.
I thought somebody.
Is that your name?
I thought what he was gonna say, a fucking PlayStation Planet or something.
Planet Station.
What was his stupid podcast name? Planet PlayStation.
Planet
Xbox.
Planet Xbox, and then he changed it to Planet PlayStation for a little bit, right?
See, I got this. You come in with a joke. It's easy.
Yeah.
It sounds like a 90s arcade.
Introduce
Jokes
yourself,
aside,
boys.
Introduce yourself, Chaos, since you spoke first.
Okay, well, I'm Captain Chaos. As you guys know, I'm co-host of the Infinite Ammo Syndicate. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say. I guess somebody else can go.
Except Derek goes next.
I'm Vino. I'm one of the brand new members who joined about 2 months ago, and I'm really liking this. This is my first podcast probably ever, and this Discord is really nice.
Yeah, let's have Derek introduce himself next.
I'm the almighty slayer of the pussy, an all-around nerd genius, Derek.
After that, we got Drill Bit joining us.
Yeah, it's me, Drillbit. So, how's everyone doing tonight?
I'm doing okay. And then, obviously, you all know me. You're probably seeing this on my channel first, because I got permission from Rem to upload it on my channel first. If you're seeing it after the fact on the IAS channel, well, now you know why. So, it's kind of having a little bit of a head start here on my channel, at least. But that being all said, we've got some PlayStation 5 news to talk about. Actually, I don't even know if they're calling it the PlayStation 5. It's just the next PlayStation. They might not even attach a number, although I don't think they would pull an Xbox or Microsoft on that.
Yeah, I mean, has Sony ever had a thing where I don't think, I mean, aside from obviously the portable consoles, like, Sony's always had, like, numbering.
A number, yeah, so...
Yeah, they're always.
So I don't know, I mean, who knows? They could.
Hopefully, we'll get a
PlayStation 4
PlayStation
Omega.
sad. I need that.
PlayStation sad. A discless PlayStation?
Well, that's the thing, though, James. Let me
happy.
broaden your horizons a bit, James. If you take the PlayStation 5 and take that PL and the S from PlayStation with that 5, doesn't it look like piss?
I wasn't ready for that revelation.
Yeah.
I'll put it to you like this.
Stupid.
I know people only play digital only. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Sad.
The sarcasm is there. It only needs digital. But sarcasm aside, let's get right into it. I'll read off the first question. What are your thoughts on the small amount of information that's already been confirmed about the next PlayStation by Sony?
Ooh. I think the hypest thing for me is the solid state drive, because apparently nobody saw that coming. Not even Digital Foundry.
I would agree with that, but and there's another question on the SSD. But I actually have some concerns about the SSD like being mandatory, but I'll save that for later.
Did they confirm if it's mandatory or that it just comes with it?
I've heard mixed things. I've heard that it's mandatory,
Conflicting
and I've heard
reports.
that it's not. Yeah, and then
I say we'll wait and see what the deal is with the mandatory part, because we have no idea. I do like that at least it starts with one. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's actually really good. For anybody that has never used an SSD before, or even a solid-state hybrid drive, it's great, especially for much larger games. If you want to really cut down on loading times and download speeds, like there is no better way to do that than with an SSD. Granted, though, if you go with the route of an SSD, you're paying a lot more than you would with like a hard drive or a solid state hybrid. But you know, you're paying for a really good performance, so it's somewhat justified.
If you got the money, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll go. I think it's a good idea that they're starting out with an SSD. I mean, especially considering how big games are today. Um, it's
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good idea, but of course, as we know, it's also going to drive up the price significantly. So I mean,
Depending on the size of the drive, of course, because
I mean, it would definitely have to be a terabyte or over. I mean, like games today are super really big. That space is going to be taken up pretty quick.
yeah, because as far as I'm
Especially
aware,
with games like.
oh, go ahead.
No. You go ahead first.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You go.
All right, especially with the games that are coming out and games that have been released for about a few months now, such as Red Dead Redemption 2, and then probably the upcoming extra games that include tons of content.
Yeah.
We're, someday I'm gonna need a lot of space.
Yeah, I was gonna add on and say that since we're on the subject, at least, the big thing with the SSDs, like as far as I'm aware, Samsung at the moment is the only company that has the largest one available. It's like 4 terabytes, but their drive, that 4 terabyte drive, launched at like 1500. And
Yikes!
I've been keeping an eye on it, but it's only dropped down to like about 600 to 700. So it's like it's dropping in price, but not to the point where it's affordable, in my opinion. But I digress. I do want to say though that the thing that's like very interesting is that they're trying to, I guess you could say, future-proof this console with putting in like some of the things like ray tracing, and I know that's like the next question. So it's very interesting, like that they want to put a lot of effort into this next console. Did anyone else want to say anything about this particular question?
Oh yes. One question that I'm a little conflicted about is the backwards compatibility. Like I remember, just recently, I'm not sure if it was only for PS4 games, but I remember there was something saying about the previous gen consoles like PS3 and PS2, and probably
you
PS1.
mean the patent?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's actually going to be question 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can talk about that in a little bit too.
I mean,
All right.
personally, 4K isn't even mainstream yet, so 8K just seems way too far out there for me.
As far as I recall, they said it was just for upscaling, so we're not even close to native.
Since we're on the subject, can I get Drill to read off number 2?
What are your thoughts on the specs of the PS5? Do you believe it can pull off 8K resolution and ray tracing? Honestly, the specs seem promising. I mean, it seems like from what I've heard, they're using like a mid-end GPU, kind of similar to how PlayStation 4 was. Though we're not sure on how the CPU side is, since I think they use Jaguar for PlayStation 4.
I think the new thing for 5 is Ryzen. I think it's some new model as well. Unless I'm thinking of another part of the console.
For the CPU.
Aren't they using Ryzen?
Yeah, they're using Ryzen, but I believe it's a custom chip. Like everything is like new. Like PCs don't have whatever this is.
Yeah, it's not really uncommon for like tech companies to make custom chips for consoles though.
I know like AMD's all over PlayStation's custom parts right now.
Yeah.
On the subject of the 8K and the ray tracing, I think that what it's going to be is similar to how the PlayStation 4 Pro does it, where with the 4K at least, where it can do 1440p natively, but 4K is something that it just upscales with a checkerboarding solution.
Yeah, checkerboard rendering.
So I think like in this case with PS5, they're probably going to push for native 4K and just do 8K upscaled checkerboarding to more or less future-proof the platform. That there is one thing, and I don't know. I know like some people are thinking I'm crazy for even thinking this, but I feel as though this is possibly going to be the reason why we'll end up seeing a PlayStation 5 Pro or whatever, if they decide not to call it the PlayStation 5. I assume we're going to see a Pro variant that would be able to do 8K natively if they, if 8K is going to be pushed in the next few years.
I can honestly see it happening.
Mm. Yeah.
I think the ray tracing is definitely plausible, and probably a good move in this case to get rid of some of the anti-aliasing problems we still have with consoles. As I see it a lot, and it's kind of annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And also can drive the frame rate down, which is also really bad.
Yeah, I think they could definitely do ray tracing, but of course, this is a console, so I feel like if they do, then we might see like some resolution downgrade or something in order to cope with the ray tracing, or of course, frame rate drops.
Yeah. From what I've seen, ray tracing is very intense on high-end GPUs.
As for the 8K, I think, we all know it's not native, obviously. I don't know, it feels like a novelty. I don't see that until like PS6 or something where 8K is normal.
Yeah, but even then, 4K is not like the norm right now.
Nope. It's still kind of niche.
Yep.
What is your take on this, Derek? You've been kind of quiet.
I can't see this one. I'm more on the I actually need to see visual than to put my opinion on the specs of the ray and with the ray tracing and stuff. Just saying it is one thing. I have to see actually physical visual proof before I'm making any kind of judgment on that side.
You need the before and after kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
as far as the 8K, I'm confident it's upscaling.
Upscaling, yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone else have anything to say before we move on, or?
Nope.
No, I was just saying, in
No,
regards
not
to 8K,
really.
it's probably upscaled, yeah. Checkerboard rendering.
Vane, how about we have you read number 3 if you have the document open?
Oh, the document? Okay,
Yeah.
let me check.
Yeah, number
I'm
3.
number 3. You said it's in the pinned messages.
Yeah, it's pinned. If you click the pinned messages, it should be on the the first pinned message.
In the general chat?
In this.
In this call,
Oh, the call. Okay, my fault.
it's fine.
There it is. You said number 3?
Yep.
In regards to backwards compatibility, we've seen a patent a while back stating that the console would be backwards compatible with PS1s to PS4. Currently, it seems there's only PS4 backwards compatibility. What are your thoughts on the patent and the current information? From my personal point of view, I'd rather have more information than judge from what's going on at the moment. But I still like the idea that they're finally going with backwards compatibility, but just from the previous gen and not the gens prior to that one, I feel like I should have more information before fully praising it or having a proper opinion. You guys?
I'll go, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've been saying for the longest time that they should have been looking at Microsoft with the backwards compatible stuff. Be like, yeah, next gen, we gotta step up on business with that because that's money they're not getting. That's extra support they're not getting, and it's it's like a little love letter to the customers. So I don't see why they would wait this long to get on it now. They've been sleeping on that, and that was pretty dumb on their
Yeah.
part. So hopefully with this gen, they learn their lesson.
The only thing, though, as a bit of a counterpoint to that, is that while I do agree, and Microsoft's method is actually not that bad of a method per se, because they basically
test them and
update the
stuff.
games and put in the support for them to put in benefits.
Hmm.
My personal opinion is that while that's a very good system, I would like to just be able to pop in my disc into the console and just play it from there. You know, if they put in,
Oh, I agree. Absolutely.
you know, like I think if Sony wanted to do it slightly better in that regard, let it so that you can play any game, but if a developer or company wants to patch in support for the game to have some kind of benefits from the PlayStation 5, then do it that way. Does that make sense?
I would have had it to where it downloads off the disc. Like you put the disc in and it, downloads the game on there, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean that's how it's like on the Xbox. It's just that with the Xbox, they actually have to go in there and make the game basically compatible with the One, and then what ends up happening is that the One ends up giving support to that game. So performance-wise, that game will end up performing better, and then obviously they upscale it to 1080p or 4K if you're using an X.
As for the other backwards compatible stuff, they've only mentioned PS4 like is confirmed to happen. I was talking to good old boy Brandy about it before, and we both agreed. Yeah, they're probably not going to tell us about PS1 through 3 until the actual official reveal. There's a lot of shit they're probably holding back.
Yeah.
It really is just a case of wait and see.
We just
Yeah.
don't have
I
enough
honestly-
information at the moment.
The problem with having games just being played off the disc is that they'd have to have like they'd either have to have like the actual hardware in it or use an emulator. Of course, with emulation, not everything's guaranteed to run at full speed.
Yeah.
I mean, with Xbox 360 and original Xbox, Microsoft built their own custom engine to run it, or at least, well, custom emulator to run it, and to allow enhancements. I think PS4 is just guaranteed because they're using actual PS4 hardware in it, or at least similar.
I was to go off of that point, I was actually thinking that if they're doing backwards compatibility, I think the most likely thing is going to be PS4 and PS3. And the reason why I feel as though that's going to be the case is just because of the fact that both PS4 and PS3 use Blu-ray discs, so it would be just a lot easier for them to emulate that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but then there's the problem with the cell processor.
Maybe that's why we've gotten only information about the PS4 backwards compatibility so far, because it's like the latest, console. They want to test out this latest console's software before they try out with the previous consoles. Because in hindsight, that I still that makes a little more sense to to get one out of the way before you go into the previous softwares.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather they just handle it the way Microsoft does it and just get games when they're fully ready to go and just let you use your own discs or download previous games and say
Oh yes, that.
I'd say support past purchases you made on PS3 and PS4 rather than having us rebuy it again.
Yeah. Although, like on that note too, like I personally, like I think between all of my PlayStation library, like between all the different consoles that have been out, I would probably want to have PS2 get supported the most, just because with what was it, not this generation but the previous generation, they removed that midway through the generation and only left PlayStation 1 backwards compatibility.
Yeah.
And then in PlayStation 4's case, it was just PS2 to PS4. and to an extent, like I can kind of understand why they went about it that way. My biggest complaint was that there was games being put on there that don't need to be on there because they have perfectly functioning HD remasters, or games that no one was really asking to have on the platform.
The problem is that it's missing a lot of its more popular titles.
You're talking about PS2 to PS4?
Yeah.
It was just very underwhelming in general.
Yeah.
They didn't give a lot of support for it.
I'm not really, like, when talking about backwards compatibility, like, I'm not really, I don't know, I don't really care about, like, just backwards compatibility with the PS4, because it's just, like, I'd rather, like we were saying, I'd rather have it with PS3, but, of course I understand why that's difficult, because it's a very different architecture. But
they'd either have to emulate
it's either
it
like PS3, PS2, or something, like, that's the backwards compatibility I care about. But
Oh yeah, I want all 4,000 of those PS2 games ready to go.
Same here.
I want to play Yakuza 2 on the PlayStation 5, the original Yakuza 2. I don't
Not the port.
care about playing.
You mean with Mark Hamill? No, he's a Yakuza 2. I'm thinking first.
No, not the first game with Mark Hamill as Majima. Like,
that was the best one.
Fuck, I'll do it. I'll replay it on PS5 if they let me.
What are you talking about? The Joker beating people with a baseball bat? That was the best.
But yeah, I mean, I could think of quite a bit of games that I think people would love to be able to play via backwards compatibility.
The previous Silent Hill games.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to get into those, or at least play them. One thing I've always wanted to play, because I haven't played this since WoW in a whole about 15 years or so, was Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I remember playing that on my PS2 a lot.
My favorite fighting game.
Yeah, but the only problem with those kinds of games is having to go through licensing.
Yeah. Yes.
Thanks, Fox.
Yeah. Well, we're talking. You're talking like specifically for what? PS2
Characters.
PS4 or
just the PS2 being playable on the PS5.
Yeah. I was just talking like, just let me throw my fucking disc into the console.
I mean, I think that'd be the same way as well. Just
like if they approach it the way Xbox does.
A PS2 game.
Okay. So you're talking like specifically if they actually put in performance boost for the games that get supported and shit like that.
You'd think they would naturally have some form of boost just because it's much better hardware.
Yeah, well, the thing is that they are emulating it, so there is some stuff that they're limited to an extent.
Especially for the PlayStation 3. With that cell processor, there's no way they're not going to be emulating it. I don't see them having the ability to do it on just hardware.
Right.
The PS3's got some convoluted crap to it.
I've also wanted to play the Metal Gear series as well, especially 1 through 4.
I wanted to play the Resistance series, but I never got to.
Yeah, HD collection is good if you ever get your.
I would say that would be the best opportunity to get the PS3 backwards compatible.
Yeah.
Or Legacy collection is also good because it'll come with the digital MGS1.
Well, personally, I've already got HD collections on Xbox since they made those backwards compatible. It'd be nice to see it on PlayStation 5. That's if PS3 is even backwards compatible to begin with.
I've got a good idea. How about you just put it on Steam?
For what?
I don't have a
Legacy
PC
collection.
Yet.
I do agree. I don't know why it's not on Steam yet. That's kind of stupid.
Well, it's on the NVIDIA Shield, but not on Steam.
I blame Konami.
Man, you're preaching to the choir with Konami. You ain't getting nothing from
unless
them.
they lost the source code to that.
Sorry, guys,
with
we
those
had to
pachinko
remake the games
slots,
using beta codes.
Alrighty. Okay, so now that we have number 3 out of the way, let's have Derek read number 4.
Alright. What are your thoughts on the console coming pre-installed with the SSD?
Wait,
My
did we
thoughts
talk
on
about this
it.
one?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel like we covered that.
We kind of tread
Kind
over
of talked
the
about it,
next
but
one.
we didn't really talk about it being
We didn't.
possibly mandatory.
Oh, we didn't just dwell on it
Yeah.
too much. Okay.
Now, when you say
Um,
mandatory, do you mean can we remove it, or is it stuck to it? Is that what you mean?
Or
So
in-
from
or-
what I've heard is that it apparently you can only upgrade the console with SSDs.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
Yikes.
like it's only formatted for SSD.
And what I'll say on that, if that's actually the case, I don't really like that idea, just given the fact that, you know, SSDs, as I mentioned earlier, they can be quite expensive. And granted, they're worth the price if you're looking for some really good performing drives. But I think what would make sense, at least from a cost-effective solution, at least, would be to focus on allowing people to use either a hard drive or an SSHD, just because they're cheaper. Granted, performance-wise, they're not as good. SSHD can be on par with an SSD, just because it's, you know, half hard disk drive and half solid state. But, you know, it's mostly about that cost, because, you know, like I said, as currently as we're recording this video, there's only one 4 terabyte SSD out in the market. No 4 terabyte in the size that Sony allows for like upgrades when it comes to hard drives and SSHDs. So there's not a whole lot you can choose as far as going past a 2 terabyte at the moment. And with the 4 terabyte SSD, I don't think most reasonable people would not want to spend $700 to $600 just to upgrade their console, when their console might cost just about that much if they bought like controllers and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Here's something I'm wondering.
Mm.
Do you think it's possible they'll pull that crap they did with, what was it, the PSP, where they had multiple memory cards?
You mean proprietary memory?
Yeah, like you could buy
Yeah,
different
no.
ones.
That was the thing I was worried about, is that are they gonna let us buy stuff like other brands of SSD, or does it have to be Sony specific?
Yeah, I was assuming maybe they're gonna do a thing where there's like 4 different types of SSDs or something with different memory. I wouldn't like it, but it wouldn't be above Sony to do it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's what killed it for me. Vita having proprietary memory and just not having micro SD to begin with.
I would say the problem with that too is that, like, if that's going to be the case, and just like Drill mentioned with like the proprietary memory, Sony did like really jack up the prices on those, which is what turned off a lot of people from getting Vita to begin with. So,
Oh, you think they're gonna sell like their own SSDs for the?
yeah, SSD,
Yeah,
or
like
even an
upgrades.
external drive that's specifically formatted to.
They would probably do
console.
that too. I don't doubt it.
I wouldn't have a problem if it was done with reasonable prices, but it's Sony, so I have no idea what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You'd think they learned from the Vita.
Yeah, and the problem with that is that it only encourages hackers, since they're just gonna find out ways how to get micro SD or other brands to work on it.
You know, thinking about that too. It's gonna be crazy if you're gonna need a like. Let's say this thing is like pre-installed, and let's say they take this idea from Microsoft where you can't upgrade the internal drive. You can only have like externals attached to the console. It's gonna be crazy to think that I'm gonna need to buy an external drive and make it feel like it's a PS2 all over again with memory cards that I just gotta stick into the console. You know.
Yeah.
Damn.
I thought we were past that point.
Nope.
So did anyone else have anything to add to this subject?
It's gonna
I'm
be
good.
called the PS.
Not me.
It's gonna be called the PlayStation 5 Neo.
Damn.
Neo.
That sounds like a kick-ass title.
I
Not
think
gonna
What
It
lie.
was
was,
that one
it
of
was
the-
a cool name back
It
then.
was like one
They
of the
had-
prototype titles for the.
They had
PlayStation.
the Neo, the Morpheus, and I think they had the Trinity as well. It's just like
They should have went with the Matrix
somebody at
idea.
Sony. Yeah, somebody at Sony has been watching too much Matrix.
And before they call it the PlayStation 5 Glad.
Glad.
Oh, it sounds cooler than the Xbox Scarlet. What the hell kind of name is that?
Yeah.
Well, they are just.
And then they have the Scorpio or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Project
I
Scorpio.
heard about
that's what it was.
Yeah.
More
Anyway,
like Project
let's
Scorpio.
let's have James. Why don't you read number 5?
Currently, the price is being considered something that gamers would find reasonable. In your own opinion, what price do you think would be reasonable? I'm saying between
400 to 500.
four, yeah, about in that range. But I would ideally say 450 if I'm trying to think realistically.
Yeah,
You're,
that's about right.
in
That's
my
about right.
opinion, I'm thinking $4.99, $5.99.
No, they.
No,
I don't.
$5.99.
So 500
is-
and 600.
$5.99 is just going to give people PS3 flashbacks.
Yeah, they're not going to do. Here's the other thing you have to remember too. Whatever Microsoft is going to do, Sony's going to undercut it on purpose.
I don't know. I just gotta.
Especially since Xbox is going first this year, which means
I don't
Sony could
know,
be
I
like,
just, I
"Oh,
just
it's
have a weird
500."
feeling, man. I just have a weird feeling.
It could happen. I'm just saying. I think they're going to watch Microsoft, and they're not going to do anything with the pricing until they see what the Xbox is going to cost, and they're going to be like,
Okay.
"Oh, 100 off."
So you're saying they're gonna pull a Sega Saturn event where they just walked in,
technically,
said the
they
price,
did it
and
last
walked out?
time. Didn't they do it last time?
Yeah,
with
they did it last time
PS4?
with the PlayStation 4. Yeah, where they made
Yeah, they
it $100 less than the Xbox One.
I think they're going to do it again.
Yeah, I mean they're
see.
they're skipping out on E3 this year. So,
I feel like that's a business strategy all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I want to say that with like as far as the price is concerned, if it's going to be $5.99, the only way it would be that price is if they bundle like accessories and maybe like say 1 or 2 games with the console as well. And I think at that point people would find that reasonable just because it's a bundle and not like just the console itself.
Just the console.
The console itself I could see being, $4.99.
$450.
At most, yeah.
Yeah, or even like roughly about $3.99, $4.99. I could see it roughly around that price range.
I'm only betting more on $3.99 because mostly because Sony's cocky, and since they're beating Microsoft so much right now, they might be overconfident and think people are going to dogpile for it. That's just my guess, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after Xbox's impressions lately, it's kind of it's almost a given.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is like one of those types of things where I would want to wait and see. But I could definitely see them wanting to wait and see what the competition is putting up for their prices.
Yeah. Personally, 400 would be great, but I've already heard that they're already taking $100 loss on PS5 and aiming for 500. So who knows?
Yeah, I expect it to be. If it's 500, that's not too bad. If it's anything above that, it's like it's kind of a deal breaker. I mean, I expect it to be pretty high though when it launches. It's typically the case.
They did say too that like it was going to be reasonable, or what gamers would consider reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think what if people think 400 is reasonable, maybe that's what they're going to be aiming for, but I don't know.
I mean, we'll just have to see. That's all I can really say.
Yeah. Alrighty. I could read off number 6.
No.
Shut up. Okay. Do you expect there to be many ports of PlayStation 4 exclusives to the PlayStation 5? And if so, what sort of improvements do you think could be made? So in regards to this question, I think the big concern is it going to be a repeat of this gen where we had a launch and most of the games that came out were just remastered. And it's sure, nice that you can see these games getting like some benefits from from the next, or at the time it was the next gen console, current gen console that would, you know, obviously make the game look and play better and stuff like that. But I would rather have, you know, new games for launch, and especially if this is going to be the case where it's like PlayStation 4 is supposed to be backwards compatible, then I don't really think we need a you know, like port of PlayStation 4 games.
Yeah,
that's that's if it's confirmed. That's what I would say. That would be the only way.
I think
they can kind of escape that.
I think the only thing that, like, I do expect them to maybe do, like considering what the PS5 is capable of, like, I expect them to do maybe, like, ports where they have the game and they have, like, it basically, like, an upgraded version of it, essentially. Like, you know, it's like, oh, this is the PS5 version of the game.
But personally, I'm expecting, like, Last of Us 2 to be cross-gen, considering we haven't heard much from it.
I don't know about that. Maybe.
I mean, it could be. They could just delay it to 2020 and just have it be on launch day with PlayStation 5.
I think something that's more possible, in my opinion, is they're going to release it this year or whenever, and then they're going to release it again for the PS5.
Yeah, that's another option. Probably that for Last of Us 2, Death Stranding, and Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, all these late gen games are definitely going to be on the PS5, either as most likely just as an upgraded version of the original.
You think they would put like the definitive edition on the PS5 then?
Either it's definitive or it's just a re-release on the PS5 in general.
I think they would do that.
Yeah, I'd see that as being very likely.
It's happened before, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Honestly, I would not be surprised if they try to put some early PlayStation 4 games on there as well.
Like Knack.
Like, I could see, like, maybe... Yeah, I could see Knack getting ported over to PS5. No joke.
Knack HD.
Yeah, literally Knack HD. That's what it's gonna be.
Knack in 4K.
But also, like, too, like, Bloodborne, I could definitely see them, you know, maybe doing, like, an upgrade for it. Maybe we could finally play that game at 60 FPS. That would be nice.
Perhaps they'll focus on all the exclusive only games.
Yeah.
They might upgrade all their games that are exclusive only. I'm betting on.
I could. The one thing, and I know you guys have already said it, but like I could definitely see Last of Us Part 2, like without a doubt, because they did this with Last of Us 1, where it was a late PS3 game, and then it got the remaster once the PS4 came out. So it's definitely something that I could see. I guess my only thing would be is that if they're going to do it to improve improve on what they've done from like last gen, is outside of it just being like a just one-to-one port where there's really nothing fantastic about it. I would say definitely like throw in like an added little bonus if I don't know, like added little bonuses here and there, you know, just small little stuff, nothing like too major, just to make it stand out from its original release.
We really need more information. It's so much guesswork.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I'm just hoping they learned their damn lesson already. Actually, I'm wondering, is this question in here? Hold up. I might add this as an extra question because I saw this on Twitter. What do you guys think they're going to do with PS Plus and PS Now? Think they're going to keep them separate still for the next gen?
I want to see why not.
I would hope they would combine them and actually give me an incentive to have PS Plus to begin with.
The problem is that streaming is still too much in its infancy to actually be somewhat viable.
I know, didn't they change it to where you can download now?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
it's like more like Xbox Game Pass now.
I believe so, yeah. I think they have
As
it.
long
I
as
think
you
it's an
have now,
option
you can actually download the game instead of streaming it.
At least they learned that lesson because, I tried PS Now. I tried to play Infamous. That shit has like 3 frame
I
delay.
heard PS Now was terrible with like lag.
I
and stuff.
tried playing Way the Samurai 3, and it would always like crash on me.
Is that was that the stream or the download?
This is before the downloading.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it used to only be able to stream it, which is not good.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't
no.
able to do it because my upload was garbage.
I mean,
Yep.
I've only ever done remote play on PC, and even then, it always drops frames.
Yeah, I think if they do something like PS Now, like I think they definitely should not do anything like PS Now again. To be honest, like it's if they're gonna have backwards compatibility, they need to they need to do something different with it. Like just not do the PS Now again, because any like online service like that, it can have a lot of problems, mainly because of internet speeds and lag.
I think of what it is now, it's good with the whole download thing. If they do that, I mean, that's one other. It's fine as it is. But it is currently, I mean.
Yeah, like in its current form, it's not like because not everybody has like fiber internet or whatever. People have different internet, so it's not. It's not gonna work.
Like they realize that like not everyone has the internet to do it.
Yeah, well, even with fiber internet though, it's like you could still have problems. It's not foolproof.
It's just not reliable right now.
Yeah, it's like we're not on the like the EU side of things, or like even Japan side of things, where their internet is like tight knit and locked, and nobody's trying to throttle their internet and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Comcast, I'm looking at you. Just shit like that. It's I don't necessarily think that it's viable to stream it. I know that Microsoft is very interested in having their next thing be stream based. I don't know why they're people gullible enough to think that streaming is going to be a viable option for next generation and future generations. I just don't see it.
Yeah. Yeah, you see what Google's doing with their stupid Google console. It's just a streaming console.
Yeah, I just don't see that shit working in the long run. But since we're on the subject of like the competition, why don't we have Chaos read number 7?
Okay.
Oh, actually, before you read off number 7, because Vane wanted us to answer some of his questions because he had to step out. Let me read off number 6. His number 6. So for him, it was very much yes. Personally, PS4 games made him embrace his passion for gaming. This goes especially for single-player improvements to be made. He doesn't have any right off the bat because he's just satisfied with what he was given, except for loading times, of course. But you can go ahead and read off number 7.
Okay. Do you think Sony could follow in the footsteps of their competition like Microsoft with their sad Xbox and Nintendo with the Nintendo Switch? There is also a bullet point specifically in terms of Nintendo's portability.
Sorry, you go first.
You go ahead. You go ahead. It's fine.
I was gonna say, I don't think Sony would bother with the portable market again, considering their kind of ill support of PlayStation Vita.
I did say that when we were writing the question, but it's more like Switch's approach to it, where it's like a hybrid console, where it's like portable and also like you can.
You think they're gonna try and do that?
I doubt they would make PS5.
I don't
portable
think it would. Yeah,
then you would have to take into account battery life and what can you even fit onto a hybrid. Like, obviously, you're not going to be able to fit like a top of the line GPU on it, and you got to make sacrifices.
If I recall correctly, there was a rumor going around about some kind of patent where there was going to be 2 separate PS5s. One that was going to be like your traditional console, and the other that was going to be kind of like a Switch hybrid type of console.
Really?
And that one would be weaker, but also cheaper in that regard.
Oh, no.
from what I've said, it is a rumor. But I can partially see that. I mean, Sony has taken from Nintendo before with like the PlayStation Move controllers, for example. Those just being like their take on the Wiimotes. So I could definitely see it if they will do it. It's just something that'll remain to be seen. If there's anything that I would actually want them to take from their competition, though, and this is specifically for Microsoft, if they do this new console and if it's supposed to have like this ray tracing and supposed to be like this really beefy console for Sony, take a page from Microsoft and maybe do a liquid cooled console.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, because I mean, Microsoft is the only one that I'm aware of that's done it, and I think it would be really interesting if we've seen other companies try their attempt at it.
Incoming Xbox Mini.
Yeah, like obviously, like with liquid cooling, I know there's going to be that risk factor of what if it leaks, but still though, it's like I just want to see if it can be done.
Yeah, but isn't liquid cooling more pricey?
I believe it's more expensive. I'm not crazy.
If I'm not mistaken, depending on what exactly or how exactly you do it, it can be.
I think it is.
Varies. It generally varies, but from my understanding, it can be. Yeah. Again, it's if they can do it, hell, if they want to do the Pro, and like I was saying, like if they want to say if 8K becomes a thing too, and they really want to push that, say if they do that PS5 Pro and they decide to do it like that, then I could definitely see it.
Mm-hmm.
But it just all depends on whether or not Sony is willing to try something crazy out like that. So it's something that I guess we'll see.
I can only see this as like a weird side project thing again.
For like a Pro, right?
Yeah, like this would have to happen like after the initial launch, like maybe a year or two.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of
The only way I could see it.
In terms of like hardware and stuff, I mean, like really all this is at this point is another like huge, a hardware jump. It's not, and I don't know if I'd say it's necessarily a big one too, because this is a console we're talking about. I'm more interested because I have a gaming PC, so I'm more interested in the exclusives and what kind of games we can expect from the next generation console.
Same here.
That's really the only thing that entices me to consoles in the first place. Because if it's not an exclusive, and if I know that I can get it on PC, and at least if it's not like a botched port, I'm gonna play it on there. So,
yeah. On a side note too, before we move on, what do you think Sony would follow in Microsoft's footsteps in the sense that they would make a discless console?
I'm going to say no. Yeah, I'm going to say no.
They've tried an all-digital system with the PSP Go, but that's proven to not sell that well.
I think Sony knows people
PSP
just don't
Go.
like the idea. I just think they
say,
don't like
you guys
digital
remember
only.
the PSP Go?
Yeah,
That thing
I like the
lasted for
design.
like a week, and then everybody forgot about
I
it.
mean, I like the design of the PSP Go and the more slicker feel of it, but it feels like a product that just came out too early.
I liked like some of the ideas with it, but it was it was a mess. Like it was just
I mean,
nobody.
honestly,
I mean, it's pretty much dead.
I mean,
I
honestly,
don't
the
see
only
them
time
copying it.
Honestly,
No.
the only time it ever should come through, but that was much later.
I mean, Microsoft's already gotten some pushback with that thing anyway, so I don't know if Sony wants to look at that and be like, yeah, we'll try it. I feel like it'd be a lot safer just to make a standard console.
I figured I would include that in the question just because I had this conversation with somebody in the group call, and they were willing to defend the SAD, the tooth and nail, make sure that we all know that it's not that bad of an idea. I personally would beg to differ. I think it's a terrible fucking idea because I think most hardcore gamers, especially those that like collecting and stuff like that, are not going to be in favor of a console that does not have a disc drive. Or hell, in some cases, I'm sure people like using their console to double as a Blu-ray drive. Because consoles do take a Blu-ray disc fairly easily.
Mm-hmm.
What was I gonna say? I just don't see it working out. And like James pointed out, like there has been a bit of a backlash with the SAD. Like I've seen people make jokes about the fucking thing, saying how much of a fucking idiotic idea it is.
Didn't they actually just get exposed that it's actually a regular Xbox One X, so they just put a thing over it?
They just took out the drive or something.
Yeah, it's a Xbox One S. It still has the SATA port to connect the disc drive.
So they literally just covered it
inside.
Yeah, they say
they basically they cover where the slot would be, and they just don't have a disc drive inside. But otherwise, the motherboard is still the same. So if you wanted to take out the motherboard and put it into a case with, say in a case that has that slot, and then install the disc drive, you could do it.
Yeah, they got burnt pretty bad on that one. I don't think Sony wants to copy them. The only thing so far I could see Sony copying is their backwards compatibility stuff. That's about it. So other than that, they're pretty much winning.
And then let me just read off what Vane had to say on this. So, in his personal opinion, he said, yes, they will. Competition is big these years in the gaming industry. That was his take. So he kept it short and simple. But that being said, why don't we have Derek read off the final question?
All right. Overall, what are your expectations with Sony and the PS5? Also, do you think that the competition has any potential of catching up with Sony in terms of market dominance?
I would say the only one who's a shot at that is Nintendo, because Microsoft sure isn't doing shit right now.
The thing with
unless
Nintendo,
Microsoft does a total 180, which
they need games. Here's what I'm going to say: they need games. If they have no games, their console would be the best. And
the
still,
last thing they had was Halo, and it's gone. It's gone.
It's going to PC now. So
yeah.
Gears of War's already on.
What was Drill trying to say?
Well, I was going to say the thing with Nintendo was that they approach the market in a different way. I mean, considering that their hardware isn't it's not considering that the hardware isn't aimed to be powerful. It's usually aimed to try to be unique in its own thing, kind of like the Switch.
I still say they're doing, since they're doing better than MS game sales wise, they're definitely better competition.
Yeah, I just think the problem with Nintendo is they need to really diversify in terms of games. If they can do that, and they have more mature rated games, or just more basically what they did with the GameCube back in the day, I think that they would, Sony would actually have some serious competition. But as things are right now, it's kind of not really. So
far, it's pretty one-sided.
Yeah.
I would say, on the front of Nintendo, I would say the biggest thing is outside of some specific policy stuff. If they the only thing that I see holding them back really is just how they do some of their bundles, where one game is digital, the other game is physical, and then if the code expires on the digital portion of the bundle, then you have to pay full price for the digital game. That's the only thing that I will hold against them, because that's just the thing that they have going on in general. But otherwise, I would say the thing with Nintendo is that they really got going for them, surprisingly enough, is what they have on their lineup, you know, because the family friendly type of thing, even though I do criticize that a lot, it is something that a lot of people find appealing, you know, because some people have kids and, you know, they buy that stuff for their kids.
You know, like it caters toward the casual market, and I mean
Yeah.
the casual market
Yeah,
does
more or
make up
less.
for quite a bit of the market, but yeah, I mean like it'll definitely do well in sales. So.
I would say in the case of Microsoft, you know, based on what we've heard with them, how they want to focus on streaming and stuff like that, and do I think they were calling it like an all around service or whatever, where you can play your games anywhere. I don't really think they know what people want at this point. I think in the long run, what's eventually going to happen is either they're going to have Phil Spencer step down and they're going to replace him, or they're just going to back out of the console market.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't like I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't personally want to see that. I'd like to have more competition in the market, but at the same time, it's like if they don't really care, it's like, you know, what do you expect?
Right. Yeah, I don't really have too much more to say about the subject. I mean, it's just we don't really know too much about the PS5 so far, so it's really hard to say. I mean, we can speculate. You know, like I mostly expect this to be a very heavily upgraded PS4. I think this is more of a tech upgrade, if anything. I mean, like we haven't heard any game announcements, so I can't, you know, don't want to be too quick to judge. But it just feels like this is more like the console market trying to, basically like trying to keep up with PCs, because PCs are constantly evolving and, like, you know, new hardware is always coming out. So I think this is more so like, at least with the PS5 and also probably with the Xbox, like trying to catch up, trying to at least trying to sort of get to that level. But of course, as we know, it's a console, so I don't think they will. But it's you know, like I said, it's them just trying to be somewhat on the same level with what the PC can do right now, at least with the in regards to like ray tracing and stuff. I do think that 8K and them like aiming for 8K is a bit excessive, though. I mean, we did say it was going to be upscale, but I don't think that should have been. I don't think that should be a priority, because even people who are on PC, most people on PC are gaming at like, if anything, most people are still gaming at like 1080p. But some people are gaming at like, you know, there are a good portion of people gaming at like 1440p, 4K. But yeah,
but 8K
I mean,
is not really a thing like that.
Yeah, I think
the
it'd
most
be
common
more
is 1080 and 1440.
I think the problem is the console's like trying to constantly like they're trying to, and I think that they're trying to make it sound like really appealing by saying like, hey, look, we can do like really high resolutions, you know. But I mean, I guess to people that don't know any better, like, you know, the casual market, they think, oh, that's great. But like the people that do, they're like,
we need CPU.
Well, we know that it's not going to be true 8K, and we know it's going to be like upscale. It's going to be like, you know, if anything, you know, the best they can probably do is maybe native 4K. And I mean, like, it's just resolution to me shouldn't be like a big selling point. I'm more interested in just like, I think what they should have done is this. They should have been like, we're gonna aim for like 1440p, or we're gonna aim for 4K, but we're going to aim for like higher like frame rates and stuff, something like that, because I think frame rate is really important.
Yeah, they need to up the CPU. That's mostly what everybody wants from them.
Yeah. I mean, it would be subject to change too. I think obviously this is just like, I don't think, you know, this is not. I don't know how much of it is confirmed anyway. So, I mean, like,
I don't think they've commented on the CPU actually.
Yeah, I mean, it could change, so I don't know. But Yeah, I don't know. It's just to me, I just when I see this, I'm not like some people are hyped for it. I'm just like all I care about is the games. I'm not so much interested in them trying to be like we have amazing tech, but it doesn't really matter to me because like we all know this is a console. This isn't going to be on the same level as a PC. If you want to get a PC and you want you're interested in tech, just get a PC. Just build a PC. You know, I don't know. But that's just me. I don't know if anybody else has any anything to say, anything else to say about it.
I kind of got something I want to just add as far as the like a sort of defense or I can't say a defense. Like I understand why I may have a theory why Sony is doing you're kind of pushing the whole 8K thing because you guys got to remember Sony is also a hardware tech company as well. What if they're actually planning on releasing something around the time of PS5's release that's going to actually accommodate that?
They also
because we're still thinking of the current technology. They might have something already down the line they've been planning on.
Do you think it's future proof?
Yeah,
maybe.
They also dabble in TVs as well, so that's probably why.
Yeah, that's why I was saying hardware tech. Like that's feel like that's still going to be like coincide with that. Like maybe they're going to release something that's going to, might not be the same time as PS5, but a little bit close around it.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. I mean, yeah, Sony's a hard, they are going to try to push their hardware. I mean, I can get that, but
I mean, if it was like Microsoft saying that, that'd be a whole different story because
to me it would make a little bit more sense too if it were Microsoft too, because Microsoft is really more. I mean, if anything,
they're software-ish.
With this generation too, they've proven more that they're not really interested in trying to sell the Xbox to anybody at this point, at least in terms of exclusive games or anything like that.
I feel they're a lot more focused on PC now.
I just feel like I don't know. I feel like I have very low expectations for the next generation, to be honest. Like I feel the line between PC gaming and console gaming is so blurred at this point, and that's mainly because consoles at this point are essentially just mini computers. The
fact that you can upgrade.
They need to start pushing more exclusives, otherwise it's like I don't really have much of a reason to care.
I will say this as kind of like I guess you could say a point, like just an add-on to the point. The only thing, and I know that there are some people out there that think that consoles are eventually going to be phased out.
Yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
I don't personally believe that just because of two reasons. One, the casual market, and two, the refusal to learn. And that's something that goes hand in hand. Casuals rarely, if ever, want to learn about like hardware and tech like that. They would rather have somebody do it for them, or they would rather have everything just ready right from the get-go. So, it is something that, is going to have some sort of impact, I think.
Also personal preference as well. Some people just prefer what they like.
Yeah. Obviously with fanboys we see like a lot of brand loyalty and stuff. So but yeah, I mean I agree there is definitely going to be there's always going to be people who aren't going to be willing to learn anything about PCs. I mean, of course there are things in place where you can have somebody build a PC for you, but I just think that there's definitely a casual market that do not want to go out of their way to learn about any of this. They just want to, they hear about something and they want instant gratification from it. There's always going to be people that are like that, and they're just very impatient. They don't want to do anything themselves. So yeah, I mean, as long as that's a thing, that consoles are always gonna, I think, always gonna exist in some capacity.
Personally, I don't see the market ever going away.
I don't think
It's
it'll
too
go
big.
away. I don't think it'll go away, but like I do think that we have seen, we have seen a lot more people jump onto like PC gaming too. So I think that that's definitely a bigger market now than it was. I don't know,
10 to
for
20
example,
years
like in
ago,
the
maybe?
PS2 era or something like that. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't that big of a market, but now I think if you compare it to that, it's probably grown significantly. With like the rise of Steam and some of these other platforms where it's just so easy to buy a game and play it. Of course, you have troubleshooting you have to do sometimes, but I mean it is a lot more straightforward than it used to be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I do think there's a big appeal there, and yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely I know this is veered way off topic, but I'm just I think it is an interesting topic because
Interesting topic. to
because
cover.
going into the
Yeah.
new generation, and like I said, so many people are since then have moved over to PCs. It's like the consoles really have to struggle to try to stay relevant, and I'm just like, the only way, at least in my eyes, they can do that is by continuing to push out exclusives.
Well, yeah, and I mean, just to kind of go off on that point, and before we wrap things up, the really interesting thing is now too is that some of these companies, like Microsoft, for example, are really interested in just making, having ship both on PC and on their console, and that might be a thing that we'll eventually see in the future, where there is no necessarily exclusives per se. Just consoles for a casual market plus port or PC ports available through specific stores that are dedicated from that platform.
Also, the other thing to remember is as long as consoles exists, they will always be the ones dictating how games are going to be developed in the future. Even for PC will always be held back on consoles.
That is true to some extent. I mean, we get a PC port of something from console, it's like, for example, we get some ports of games that used to be exclusive to the PS4, like Yakuza. Yakuza 0 had things that was holding it back, and it could have been a lot better on PC, but it didn't really have all the bells and whistles you'd expect from a PC or a port. But apparently Yakuza Kiwami did improve on that a lot. So, but yeah, I mean that's a good point.
Yeah, development will
let me
always
just-
be dictated by console market, unfortunately.
Yeah, let me just read off Vane's comment on this. Is brief and simple on this one as well. He said he couldn't really bring himself to any expectations either way, but he thinks that Sony has pretty much greatly surpassed both Microsoft and Nintendo. However, he thinks that Microsoft should still be kept into consideration because they might learn from their mistakes in the next generation. A big might there, and then also stating to keep an eye out on Nintendo because they might pull something under their sleeves and they might do something pretty interesting as well. And then he also says thanks for having him on, and he hopes to be on future podcasts. So that all being said,
Close us out, Dom.
yeah. Yeah, I will close everyone out. Okay, so I've been BioDevil Dom. You all can find me on Twitter and on obviously my YouTube if you're not on my channel watching this already, at BioDevil_Dom. And then why don't we do outros for other people? So why don't I start with Drill? Where can we find you, sir?
You can just find me on Twitter at DrillVit777. I mean, I have a YouTube, but I really don't use it that much, so Twitter's mostly the most active I'm on.
Alrighty. After that, we have Derek. Where can we find you, sir?
I usually hang out at the local strip club for about a few hours.
Damn it.
If I'm not there, you can find me on Twitch at the Crawl Space, and also on Twitter at DA Crowley VA, and YouTube at DA Crowley.
Okay, after that we have Captain Chaos. Where can we find you, sir?
Yep, you can find me on both YouTube and Twitter at Captain Chaos. Yep.
And then last but not least, James, where can we find you?
I'm at your mother's house. I mean, what?
What?
I don't know. I wanted something dumb to say.
She's
You can
at the
find
strip
me on
club.
Twitter at DevHunterJames. That's about it for me.
Bang, bang, bang.
Alrighty.
Pull my double trigger.
It's been pulled.
Fucking Devil May Cry 5. That was a great game. Go play it. But yeah, anyways, that's been our thoughts on PlayStation 5 with what little we know. We kind of diverged a little bit, but I think it was an overall great discussion. I got to bring on somebody new as well, which is always nice. But yeah, that's the end.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah, hope you
Bye,
guys
honey.
enjoyed. So we'll see
Yeah.
you
Join us
have a
next
good
time when we discuss the Game Boy.
and then the virtual.
We
boy.
should. We should talk about the Game Boy.
No, just the Game Boy.